The house was quiet, save for the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the distant noise of traffic outside. It was just another regular night until my phone buzzed with a notification that sliced through the silence like a sharp knife. The screen lit up with a message from Alex, "Miss you, my love. I want to repeat our hot night." I stared at the message, confusion and disbelief washing over me. Alex was right here at home, probably curled up with a book in our bedroom. The message was clearly not meant for me. The cold realization that my wife had cheated began to sink in. Her lover's name was also Alex, and in her carelessness, she had sent the message to me instead. I walked to our bedroom, my heart pounding in my chest, the phone still in my hand. I found her reading, as I expected, till my phone buzzed with X. I started, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "You sent this to me by mistake, didn't you?" She looked up, her face transforming from calm to shock in an instant. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, but her eyes darted away from mine. I held up the phone so she could see the message. Her face drained of color as she read the words meant for another. "Oh, God, Who is he?" I interrupted, my tone harsh, betraying the anger building within me. "It's not what you think," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I think it's pretty clear, Alex," I retorted, the room filling with my rage. "You cheat, you lie, and now you can't even look me in the eye and tell me the truth." She tried to reach out to me, her hands shaking. "Please, let's talk about this." "It's not." "Not what?" "Not true? This message says otherwise." I snapped, cutting her off. The rest of the night passed in a blur of accusations and denials. I couldn't sleep. The image of the message burned into my mind, fueling a deep, seething anger. By dawn, I had made a decision, one driven by a desire for revenge. The next few days, I put my plan into action. I contacted a lawyer and started the divorce proceedings. I exposed her affair to our friends and family, sparing no details. Her reputation crumbled as the truth came out. By the time the divorce was finalized, her life was irrevocably altered. We parted ways, never to see each other again. The betrayal was too deep, the wounds too fresh. As I walked away from what used to be our home, I felt a bitter satisfaction. She had ruined the sanctity of our marriage, and in return, I had ruined the life she knew. Yet, as I moved on with my life, a nagging question remained: had my revenge brought me peace, or had it merely spread the pain? As the nights grew longer and quieter, I was left alone with the echoes of my actions, wondering if justice was truly served. The days following the divorce were a blur of restless nights and empty days. I walked through the motions of my life, my thoughts consumed by the betrayal. The air in my once shared apartment felt heavier, tainted with the ghost of Alex's deceit. Yet, in my pursuit of solitude, a call from an old friend broke the monotonous silence. "Hey, man, I heard about what happened," said Mark, his voice filled with concern. "How are you holding up?" "Surviving," I replied dryly, staring out the window at the city below, its lights flickering like distant stars. "You need to get out of that apartment," Mark insisted. "Come meet me at the Old Oak. Let's talk." Reluctantly, I agreed. The bar was dimly lit and smelled of aged wood and spilled beer, a stark contrast to the sterile environment of my home. Mark was already there, nursing a dark drink. As I approached, he clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You look like hell, Alex." "Feel like it too," I admitted, sinking into the chair opposite him. We talked, or rather, Mark talked while I listened. He suggested distractions, hobbies, maybe even a short trip somewhere. Anything to clear my head. The conversation was a temporary balm, but the moment I left the bar, the weight of my reality settled back on my shoulders. Back home, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It was her, Alex. "Can we meet? I think we should talk. There's more to the story than you know." Anger surged through me, but curiosity was a persistent itch. I agreed to meet her the next day at a public park, a neutral ground bathed in the anonymity of the bustling city. The morning was brisk, the park alive with the sounds of life that seemed alien to my current state. Alex was already there, sitting on a bench, her posture defeated, her eyes swollen from crying. "You look awful," I said as a greeting, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. "I deserve that," she acknowledged, looking up at me with tired eyes. "Alex, there's something you need to know about that night, the message." I listened, skeptical but silent, as she unfolded a tale of manipulation and coercion. She claimed her lover, the other Alex, had been her boss, who threatened her career if she ended their affair. He said he'd ruin me if I didn't comply. I was scared, trapped, she explained, her voice cracking. I processed her words, the layers of our life together peeling back to reveal a narrative much darker than simple infidelity. Yet, as she spoke, I struggled to sift truth from lies, reality from manipulation. "And you expect me to just believe this?" I asked coldly. "I don't expect anything," she replied softly. "I just wanted you to know the whole story. What you do with that is up to you." We parted again, but this time, the seeds of doubt were planted in my mind. Had my quest for revenge been too hasty? Was there more to her betrayal than just a clandestine affair? As I walked away, the echoes of our past conversations haunted me, and I knew this was far from over. The intrigue of her words suggested layers yet to be uncovered, and whether I liked it or not, I was drawn back into the tangled web of our destroyed relationship, searching for truth in the wreckage. The revelation from Alex had set my mind racing, tossing me back into a sea of doubt and confusion. The story she told wasn't just a simple affair, it was steeped in coercion and fear. I needed clarity, and for that, I needed to confront her lover, her boss, the other Alex. Equipped with nothing but a seething mix of anger and a need for the truth, I made my way to his office. The towering building loomed large, its glass facade reflecting the grey skies above, mirroring the turmoil inside me. I bypassed the reception with a curt nod, my footsteps echoing ominously as I approached his office. The door was slightly ajar, voices filtering through the gap. It was him, speaking on the phone with a tone of arrogance that made my blood boil. I didn't knock, I pushed the door open. He looked up, surprise etching his features, the phone still pressed to his ear. "Alex, we need to talk," I said, my voice a low growl. He hesitated, then spoke into the phone, "I'll call you back." As he hung up, his expression shifted to one of caution. "What are you doing here?" "You know exactly why I'm here," I shot back, stepping closer. "You've been using your position to manipulate my wife. Threaten her." "Why?" His face hardened, the facade of surprise dropping as he stood up, his height trying to intimidate. "That's a serious accusation. I think you should leave before you make a fool of yourself." I didn't budge, my gaze locked on his. "I'm not going anywhere until I get the truth." He scoffed, crossing his arms. "What do you want to hear?" "That yes, I had an affair with Alex." "That happens in the corporate world more often than you think." "But everything else?" "Your wife's desperate fairy tale to save her skin, don't be naive." The air between us crackled with tension, each word from him fueling my resolve. "This isn't over," I warned, taking a step back. "I will find out everything." As I left his office, the weight of his denial pressed against me, but it didn't deter me. I had to dig deeper. The next step was to gather evidence. I contacted a few people I knew from my days in journalism, contacts who could discreetly pull strings, gather information without drawing attention. Days turned into nights filled with waiting, each tick of the clock echoing the slow, steady beat of my heart. Finally, a break came. One of my contacts had secured emails and messages between Alex and her boss, proof of his coercion and her pleas for him to stop. With the evidence compiled, I arranged for another meeting with Alex. This time at a quiet cafe, away from prying eyes and ears. She arrived, looking wary but hopeful. I slid the envelope across the table to her. "Read this. It's everything you told me, backed by proof." Her hands trembled as she read the documents, tears welling up in her eyes. "How did you get this?" "It doesn't matter," I said, my voice softer now. "What matters is what you do next." It's your move, Alex. Go public, fight back. You're not alone in this. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you. I didn't know if I could face him alone. You're not alone, I repeated. As she looked up at me, there was a new resolve in her eyes, a fire reignited. Together, we started to plan her next steps. The road to justice was long and fraught with challenges, but now, armed with truth and each other, we were ready to face whatever came our way. This wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was about righting a wrong and reclaiming a life taken by deceit. The days following our pact were charged with a silent, crackling energy. Alex and I, now allies forged in the fire of betrayal, worked tirelessly. Our goal was clear: expose the manipulation and coercion for all to see. The evidence was damning, pieced together with meticulous care, each email and message a nail in the coffin of her boss's career. Yet, as D-Day approached, the day we would go public, a gnawing suspicion tugged at the edges of my resolve. Something about Alex's occasional hesitance, the flicker of something unreadable in her eyes, prompted a deeper investigation. Trust, once broken, was a fragile thing, and I found myself pulling at threads that perhaps were better left untouched. I revisited the evidence, digging deeper than before, and in my fervor, I unearthed a hidden layer of deception so insidious it chilled my blood. A series of encrypted messages not between Alex and her boss, but between her and another unknown contact. Messages that detailed not coercion, but collaboration, a plan to manipulate not just her boss, but me as well. The revelation hit like a physical blow. The world tilted, a sickening carousel of betrayal spinning around me. I confronted her at the same cafe where we had planned our strategy, slamming the printouts of the messages on the table between us. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice a low, dangerous calm that belied the storm raging inside. Alex's face paled, her eyes darting around, seeking an escape she wouldn't find. "I can explain," she began, her voice trembling. "Explain?" I shouted, drawing the attention of a few nearby patrons. "You manipulated everyone. Your boss, me, all for what? Money? Sympathy? What was the end game, Alex?" She was crying now, her composure shattered. It started out as just a way to get out from under his control, but then I saw an opportunity to use me. To use us all as pawns in your twisted game. I cut her off, my disgust mounting with every sob she tried to stifle. "I loved you. I trusted you, and you used that against me." The cafe fell silent, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. Alex looked up at me, tears streaking her face, but I saw no remorse there, only fear, a fear of losing control over the narrative she'd crafted so carefully. "We're done here," I said coldly, standing up. "I'll make sure everyone knows the truth. The whole truth." And with that, I left her there, a broken figure in a sea of whispering onlookers. I went straight to the press, releasing everything onlookers. Emails, the encrypted messages, the proof of her duplicity. Her reputation unraveled as quickly as the lies she had woven. The public fallout was immediate and merciless. Alex lost everything: her job, her friends, any sympathy the public had once held for her. But that wasn't enough for me. The betrayal, the sheer audacity of her deceit, had lit a dark fire within me. One night, under the cloak of darkness, I paid one last visit to the home we had once shared. With precision, I erased every trace of her existence from my life. Photos, gifts, anything that could ever remind me of her were reduced to ashes in a bonfire that burned as fiercely as my hatred. I left town that night, leaving behind the ashes of my past life. I started anew, far from the ghosts of betrayal that haunted my every step. Alex and I never saw each other again. Our paths diverged forever, marked by the scars of deception. In the end, the vengeance was complete, ruthless, and utterly solitary. But as I settled into my new life, the echoes of my actions whispered a haunting question: was the price of retribution truly worth the cost? As I pondered, I realized that some questions are best left unanswered, buried beneath the ashes of what once was.